He's Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, former NFL quarterback. And let me start with the serious question. Where do you rank, do you think, with your family? Like, who does your dad love the most?
I think he loves my sister the most by
Okay.
far. Yeah,
Okay.
she's the girl. She's daddy's girl. So I think she's probably one. I'm probably third right now in my household. I would say Matt's probably second. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm low on the totem pole maybe with mom and dad's love of me right at this point.
Okay, but what does Matt do that would rank him second above you, who's now a big TV star?
He's around more. He's still living in
Oh.
the same hometown, so he's at the house more. And
Mm.
my dad still is like, I wish you still. I'm doing my dad voice. I wish you still lived here in Franklin Lakes, and you could bring the kids over. And I'm like, what? But Dad, I do a show at 7 a.m. every morning. Do you want me to wake up at what 4:30, 4 o'clock to get there and do it? So, yeah, I think it's maybe out of sight, out of mind. That's hurt me a little bit.
Do you love your dad or your mom more?
Oh, well, that's not even close. Mom. I mean,
Okay.
that's not even,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, mom, come on. Dirty. I call her Dirty Diana. She's the best. I mean, first off, she was a great mom. And man, she had to deal with my dad for all these years and she's still with him. That just tells you how good she is.
What was it like, though, when your dad came home? Your dad got beat up a lot. He got roughed up a lot of those years with the Giants. And did he bring games home?
Yes, he did. When they lost, not that he was like, mad or yelling at us or like treating us with disrespect, but when dad lost, a game to the Philadelphia Eagles and Reggie White and Randall Cunningham, there wasn't going to be any conversations in the car ride home back, from the stadium. And then when he got home, he would pull up his chair. He would have this chair and he'd pull it up real close to the TV and he'd put his feet up and have the TV about 6 feet from him and watch, highlights in the Sunday night football game, but never really say anything to the family the whole night. So that's usually how it went.
Wow. All right,
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to know, Chris. Thanks for joining us as always.
All
We
right. Good
appreciate
seeing
it.
you guys.
I was wondering with these rookie quarterbacks, it's tough enough to get acclimated in the NFL with the speed and all the information. If you're trying to handicap this, Joe Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert, who's going to have the easiest transition, if you can even
Well,
refer to it as easy?
yeah. Right. Yeah, it's not easy. You're right. No, neither or none of the situations are easy. But I do think when I look at it, I go Joe Burrow and Tua have an advantage. I think over guys like Jordan Love, who's very raw and was in a very simple offense. Justin Herbert, not a very complicated offense and creativity there up in Oregon. Joe Burrow got coached by a guy that's an NFL offensive coordinator and Joe Brady who worked under Sean Payton. So I think he's going to have a good feel for how offenses are run in the NFL. And that's kind of the same logic I would use with Tua, Dan. That Alabama offense, you watch it, it's got everything. And he's being coached by Nick Saban, tells you he's being coached like a pro. So I think those are the two guys I would favor in that conversation more than the other because of what they came from.
How are they going to be able? Joe Burrow's first pass could be his first pass. There's no preseason here,
Right?
right?
I know. It's crazy. I know. It's unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, I don't think, Cincinnati's trying to deny it. We know Joe Burrow's starting game one, week one, play one. The good thing for him is he played a lot of football the last 2 years. Like we talked about, he was in a pro style system. He's been around and played against a lot of pro players. That's the benefit of playing in SEC football. I mean, pretty much every team you play every week's got a few professional defensive linemen, a few pros in the secondary. And I think, he'll adjust fairly quickly because I think he's very talented and smart.
Yeah, it feels like that first pass is going to be a little drop-off pass to Joe Mixon out of the backfield.
No doubt.
Right.
Little icebreaker. Here, AJ Green, here's a 3-yard pass. You go do something with it.
But the preseason, we know it's necessary for the rookies just to get kind of acclimated to the stage and teammates, the bright lights, the whole thing there. But if you're a veteran, how much are they going to miss the preseason?
Not a whole lot. They're not. Now, I think the other wrinkle you have to throw into this conversation, too, is we'll see what the rules are set up between the NFL and the NFLPA and how many padded practices they're going to be able to have and how many times they'll be able to go full contact. That's going to be a big part of it. But it's something that bothers me. It's something that's not being talked about right now, is the kind of the player safety issue. I think you're going to have more players coming into training camp out of shape than ever before. No matter how most of these guys, yeah, you're working out at home, but it's still not like being there in the facility, competing against guys every day that you're working out with. A coach is yelling at you, doing all those things. So to get back to your question, it's imperative for the rookies, the second year, the third year guys, all those guys who just don't have a lot of snaps under their belt. Those are big reps. And that's why, I know the one thing that my coach friends have told me is they're disappointed or scared that there's not going to be enough 11-on-11 contact type drills when training camp does come around, which of course is going to hinder those type of guys' abilities to make the team and things like that.
But also Cam Newton, here is a veteran, but coming back from injuries and then joining a new team. And, oh, by the way, replacing Tom Brady.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot of moving parts there. You're right. Now, the one thing is, with a guy like Cam Newton, he knows he can play. He knows he belongs. It's going to be more about, him getting this New England system, which is as complicated as any in football, and getting a grasp of that. And then I think the big thing is, too, that, and again, New England, they're brain surgeons is the way they think and tactically attack things, which I'm sure Bill right now is thinking about, how can I make the most of a 80-man roster with all these rules of COVID-19 and do that? I'm sure he's surgically dissecting what he wants to do. But yeah, then part of that question too, and what makes New England so great is, they'll formulate the offense around Cam Newton and the fact of, oh, he does this good. All right, let's find 20 different ways to do this. And then, oh, he doesn't do that well. All right, we'll work on it. And maybe we'll just infuse it in the offense here and there. That's where they're really great. And yeah, they're a little hamstrung by this, but they have these type of Cam Newton plays in their playbook. I'll say that, Dan. That they definitely do. This is the most extensive playbook in football. It's just I think there's going to be more of a primary primary thought of their offense this year, as in years past it was trickery.
He's Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host with Mike Florio and former NFL quarterback. Yeah, you start to look at certain situations here. Dak Prescott is in camp or going to be in camp, but he gets a franchise tag, and then you don't get that long-term deal. And how does that not affect you? Whereas everybody else got long-term deals from Jerry Jones, and the Cowboys, I think, messed this up because they could have gotten him for what we would look at as a bargain a year ago.
Right.
And now, they're going to pay top dollar. And then he bet on himself again this year. So how does this end with the Cowboys and Dak Prescott?
I mean, it's either going to be the same story and they're going to be franchise tagging him again next year. And he's going to roll the dice on that, which, hey, rolling the dice this era, 2020 at the quarterback position, it's not like 1992 anymore, right? With all the rules to protect the quarterbacks, it's not as a dicey situation as it once might have been. So I can understand Dak Prescott's thought process. But, what I worry about, let's see, just from the Dallas standpoint is, kind of the Joe Flacco effect. Hey, Dallas, we know that offense has got talent. And what? They just got CeeDee Lamb in the top 20 picks of the draft. So what I would be scared about if I'm a Cowboy fan or a Cowboy employee is, he has a huge year again statistically, and then the wins match it this year. And then you go, oh, man, now we're going to have to pay him probably, Patrick Mahomes messed up this conversation too a little bit. So, yeah, Dallas messed up in not getting out in front of this. I agree with you there totally. I do think Dak Prescott was probably being a little aggressive, what I've been led to believe, and what he was asking for. And then I think with Mahomes signing for what he signed over the next 2 years, I think that certainly probably put a little wrench in that conversation, too.
I don't know if you saw this comment by Brandel Chambly on the Golf Channel, but he said Tiger is the most underachieving golfer of all time because of all the talent and that he only won, what he's won so far and that he should have won far more. And it made me wonder, is Aaron Rodgers going to be looked at it that way? Now, his resume is not the same as Tiger's, but,
right.
Realizing everybody says he's the most talented quarterback he's ever played.
Right.
And if he only ends up with one Super Bowl, will he be the least achieving or underachieving quarterback?
Well, I think, yeah, I think he'll be viewed by many that way. He won't be viewed that way by me.
Yeah.
And I think, people, Dan, I know you're a great fan. You got a great feel for the game. I would have a hard time thinking you would think that way either. You're smart enough to realize that, you know, he hasn't had the most creative offenses around him and big time talent and shut down defenses. And he can't catch onside kicks against the Seahawks to go to the Super Bowl and play defense too. So there's
Well,
been a lot
I
of
think the
things.
front office of the Packers
Right.
underachieved as much as any front office in the last 20
I
years.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And then of course I think this year's, off season was a debacle too, dear, where you got a guy that's still playing at a very high level. But yeah, I think widely that's what he's going to be criticized. Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that I look at a little like LeBron James, where he's going to be a victim of his own greatness to a degree because he brought some teams in the NFC Championship, like in 2016 against the Falcons. They had no business being there, but he's Aaron Rodgers and he could just carry his team there. But then they got overwhelmed by a team instead of like, this team's not that great, so I'm Aaron Rodgers and I can overcome it. So in a lot of years of getting into the playoffs where I go, the team was really average. I don't even know if they were a playoff team and they got in. So all those things are going to hurt him when it all comes said and done. But it won't hurt him in my eyes. You know that.
Yeah, and Dan Marino went through this for a long period of time, that he went to one Super Bowl, never got back, went to, I think, one conference championship game after that. But we look at Dan Marino and say, did he underachieve as a whole? I mean, it sounds strange to even say it,
I know.
but, where Brady overachieved because he wasn't a
Sure.
first round pick and, of course, his resume. Like John Elway almost underachieved by losing 3 Super Bowls, and then he won 2 because of Terrell Davis. Now we look at him and go, yeah, he achieved. Joe Montana overachieved because he was a 3rd round draft pick.
Right.
Drew Brees, has he overachieved or underachieved?
Well, yeah, I think he's overachieved, really. But it's about the support system.
Yeah.
That's where I look at it. And me, this is one of my pet peeves because we just all boil it down to wins and losses, and we put it on one guy. And as great as Joe Montana is, right? I mean, Joe Montana is great. I don't know. He left the 49ers, and all they did was go to NFC Championship games and Super Bowls after he left. So you look at that and you go, oh, okay. There was a team there. There was a great coaching staff. There was a lot of things around him. He had an offensive system that was ahead of its time and things like that. Where, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers necessarily had the benefit of the doubt there. Dan Marino, hard to name too many great defensive players or running backs that were ever around him, let alone some of the other coaches that came off of that staff. There's no greatness there either. So it's a pet peeve of mine. It really does bother me. But I understand the conversations, and yeah, that's why I try to get the Super Bowl rings conversation. I always try to, make people think about it a little bit more.
But it's like Russell Wilson is a Hall of Famer. He's overachieved in people's eyes because he was not a high draft pick here. Dak Prescott has overachieved in some way.
Right.
Right? Matthew Stafford underachieved. Matt Ryan's going to be a Hall of Famer, but we might look at it and say it's where you're drafted, how much you're getting paid, that we start there and go, are you overachieving or underachieving? It usually starts with your draft selection.
Well, you're right. It's a big part of the conversation, which is not fair either. It's not. I mean, again, sometimes you misevaluate guys or, Tom Brady. He was allowed to lift a weight and work on his 40 time before he went to the combine. Maybe he wouldn't have been a 6th round pick if he didn't have that picture where he has no muscle and he ran a 5.2 40. So, he could get some of that blame too. But, hey, listen, it's a great conversation. It certainly is.
What do you think, Brady? What do you think Brady runs a 40 now?
Probably, I think he's probably faster now than he was then, which is really crazy and odd. I do, because I think he actually works on it now. I think there was a period in his career where he just said, I'm a great thrower and I can shuffle in the pocket and I don't give a damn about anything else. And I heard him make some comments a few years ago where he was like, all right, I want to start sprinting and doing those things, because if it is 3rd and 3 and they play coverage and double team everybody, he wanted to be able to run for 4 yards. I think he's got more running yards towards the end of his career than he does early on. But he's not breaking 5 flat, Dan. I don't think he's breaking 5 flat right now. That would be my guess.
Can he beat Roethlisberger?
Ooh, I don't think he can. I don't think he can. It'd be a close one. Now, Big Ben, I'm not sure he's run a sprint, since he came out for the combine. So they're going in different directions that way. But, it'd be close. But I think I'd give the nudge to Roethlisberger.
Well, I'm trying to think who's the slowest starting quarterback, because we know who the fastest quarterback is. Is Phillip Rivers the slowest quarterback?
I know. I'm sitting here looking at teams right now, and I think he could be in that conversation with Brady, certainly. And I'm trying to look if there's just anybody else. I think you might have nailed it, though. I think it might be those two guys, really. I don't see anybody else that jumps out to me in that fashion. So I think it is those two guys.
I would pay to see those guys race.
Oh, I would too. I hear you. Yes. I mean, but again, it shows you it's not about that always. Brady's one of the best pocket manipulators we've ever seen in the sport, as far as moving around, always staying in throwing position and having that sixth sense of what's around him. So, again, you don't have to be fast. If you can have quick feet and great body control and understand a few techniques of throwing the football, you can be really dangerous, just like Dan Marino. I mean, Dan Marino, I don't think he could have beat me, in a race if I ran backwards in my prime. But Dan, he can move those feet and fire that ball.
It's great to talk to you, Chris. I hope your status with your dad improves a little bit.
We'll see. We'll see what I can do. I don't know. I hope I'm still in the trust and can get some money when he's done.
Who gets the Super Bowl ring?
Oh, hopefully I just want Super Bowl 21. Hopefully I should get it. I was my brother wasn't alive yet, so he shouldn't qualify for that. My sister was only 2. I was the only one there at the game. I should get that for sure.
Thank you, Chris.
See you, buddy.
That's Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host.